The Sci-Fi Channel launched all the way back on September 24th, 1992. Originally, they played a wide variety of reruns and syndicated content. Shows like Doctor Who, Star Trek, and classic movies like Dracula and Frankenstein. As time went on, they wanted to start creating their own original content and ushered in a wave of sci-fi originals, some of which they produced, while others were pickups from outside the US. Here's 5 shows from the Sci-Fi Channel you may have missed or forgotten about. Mission Genesis. Mission Genesis was the first original scripted series for the Sci-Fi Channel. It was based on the 1992 book Deepwater Black by Ken Catran. The first episode aired on July 21st, 1997. The series revolved around a virus that kills almost all life on Earth. Before humanity's gone forever, a team of scientists create a deep space ark to send a group of cloned humans to try to find a new world. The ark's carrying the seed of new life, and they'll be able to restart humanity once they find somewhere hospitable. A bit like Earth 2 from 1994. As a way to offset the cost of the show, it was a co-production between Sci-Fi, its parent company USA, the Canadian network YTV, and it was distributed by animation studio Sunbow. The network had high hopes for the show. They even did a half-hour-long special about the making of the series, hosted by Leonard Nimoy. It played in the US as Mission Genesis, but elsewhere in the world it was still using the original title of Deepwater Black. The show kind of played out like Star Trek for teens. In the books, the cast was kids ages 11 to 13, while in the TV series, they were more like 16, 17. I haven't had a chance to read the books, but from what I can see, it looks like they took a few liberties with the source material. This series ran for 1 season with 13 episodes. The last one aired on December 22nd, 1997. One of the biggest complaints about the show was the lackluster CG, which wasn't the best, but I've seen other shows from roughly about the same time with the same level of CG. A few years after the show ended, Gordon Michael Wolvett, who played Reb, went on to play Seamus Harper in another space show, Andromeda, which lasted much longer than Mission Genesis with 5 seasons and 110 episodes. Craig Kirkwood, who played Zack, was in the short-lived UPN series Mercy Point, which was essentially ER in space. Nicole DeBoer, who played Yuna, went on to join Deep Space Nine as Ensign Esri Dax. Mission Genesis is not on DVD, it's not available for streaming, but the show is up on YouTube, including the making of special. First Wave. First Wave is often seen as the second original show from Sci-Fi, but really, it started elsewhere. The show premiered on Canada's Space Channel on September 9th, 1998. It was going to air in first-run syndication in the US, but it was picked up by the Sci-Fi Channel to air on there instead. Sci-Fi picked up the rights in late 1998 and then started airing the show on the channel in March of 1999, right around the time they were getting ready to air another new series, Farscape. While the network originally just picked up the first season, the show was doing so well, they expanded their order from 22 to 66, which would make for a total of 3 seasons. The show is about security specialist Cade Foster. He uncovers a plot by a race of aliens called the Gwa that have been conducting experiments on humans. He discovers he's test subject 117 and is being used as a test of the human will. What the aliens do is ruin his life to see the lengths he'll go through to get it back. He's framed for the murder of his wife, he loses his job, and is on the run as a fugitive. The series had a huge name behind it, Francis Ford Coppola. He was signed on as an executive producer. Now, whatever his role was in shaping the show is not known, and more than likely, he just put up some of the initial capital to get the project off the ground. The series spawned a 6-issue comic book series from Andromeda Entertainment that covered multiple stories. While the show started off strong, it was having problems around Season 2, so the network retooled it a bit and introduced a new character, Jordan, played by Tracy Lords for Season 3. Season 3 did not go over as well as they'd hoped, so after the contract was up, they canceled the series. First Wave lasted for 3 seasons with 66 episodes. The last one aired on February 7th, 2001. Season 1 was released on DVD, but not Seasons 2 or 3. The full series was available for streaming at some point, but not anymore. However, the entire series is available on YouTube. Black Scorpion. In the 90s, the cable network Showtime contacted Roger Corman about doing a series of Corman-style films for the channel. In pure Roger Corman fashion, he produced 30 movies over the course of 2 years, 2 of which were Black Scorpion and Black Scorpion 2. Black Scorpion was a superhero film starring Joan Severance in the title role. The movies were about Darcy Walker, a detective who moonlights as the lone vigilante Black Scorpion. The Sci-Fi Channel liked the idea and bought the rights to expand the character with a TV series. Black Scorpion the series aired on January 5, 2001 on Sci-Fi. Joan Severance didn't return, so the lead was taken over by Michelle Lintel. While the ex-model Severance was overflowing with sex appeal, Lintel was probably the better choice for the character. Not that she wasn't pretty, she was. It's just that she had the additional inclusion of an extensive background in martial arts. So she was able to play the character a bit more convincingly without the need to switch to a stunt double. The character is more or less a gender-swap Batman. Black Scorpion's a master of hand-to-hand combat and a computer genius, but has no superpowers. She even has her own Batmobile called the Stingray. In another time back to Batman, Black Scorpion's nemesis is Breathtaker, played by Adam West. The series ran for 1 season with 22 episodes. The last one aired on June 30th, 2001. The show continued on in syndication, and some of the episodes were combined to make feature-length movies, which were released direct-to-video. The original 2 movies were released on DVD, but are now out of print and are expensive. The TV series was also released on DVD and is also out of print. The show is on YouTube, you can buy the show digitally on Amazon, and it's also available for free with ads on Freevee. The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man was a show that took the concept from the original classic H.G. Wells book from 1897 and made it into something different. This was not the first time The Invisible Man was turned into a TV series. Not the second either. This is actually the 4th time The Invisible Man was made into a series. Although the previous attempts were closer to the source. The show revolves around Darian Fox, a thief who's caught during a robbery and sentenced to life in prison. His brother is a research scientist working for the government. He makes a deal to get Darian out of prison if he becomes a test subject for his top-secret I-Man project. Darian gets a glandular implant, the Quicksilver gland, which can release a chemical on command to make him invisible. He's then brought into this super-secret government agency called the Agency, and they use his skills as a thief, as well as his ability to turn invisible, to do a series of jobs for the group. He also gains a variety of other invisibility-related powers over the course of the series, like being able to turn others invisible as long as he's touching them. The gland brings with it a series of drawbacks. The biggest is that he needs access to medication that'll keep him from going insane, a condition called Quicksilver Madness. Also, if the gland is ever removed, it'll kill him. The show premiered on June 9th, 2000. For Season 2, they did some adjustments to the show. One thing was that they started calling it I-Man instead of The Invisible Man, possibly as a way to attract a new audience. Ones who may have been avoiding the show, thinking it was an adaptation of the original book, and not something more along the lines of a spy thriller. This was probably done by the same people who changed the Sci-Fi Channel to Sci-Fi. Season 2 also brought in Alex, played by Brandy Ledford. She plays a high-ranking agent brought in to keep Darian in line, and also to give the show some additional sex appeal. The additions weren't enough to keep the show going, and Sci-Fi canceled it. Apparently the cost of the show was getting too high, and there were numerous arguments with the parent company, USA, about the show's content. The show ran for 2 seasons with 46 episodes. The last one aired on February 1st, 2002. The show ran in syndication all around the world long after the series was canceled. Season 1 of the show is released on DVD, but unfortunately, it must not have sold very well because Season 2 was never released. Season 1's still in print, and you can get it fairly cheap. The show isn't available for streaming, and aside from a few random clips, it's also not on YouTube. The Chronicle. The Chronicle was a show based on the book series News from the Edge by Mark Sumner. Originally, NBC shot the pilot and picked it up for a series, but for whatever reason, they decided to not go through with it, and it landed on the Sci-Fi Channel. The show is about journalists working for a tabloid newspaper. The thing is, much like what was joked in the movie Men in Black, the stories were all real. They investigate all sorts of stories, like giant worms that eat people, and a Sleepy Hollow story where the Headless Horseman drives a motorcycle and his helmet is painted like a jack-o'-lantern. The show premiered on July 14th, 2001. The series followed the two leads, Tucker, played by Chad Willett, and Grace, played by Rena Sofer. Tucker's the new guy who takes the gig because he desperately needs a job. He's taken under the wing of Grace, who shows him that all the stories they print are in fact real. The series was very clever, with some unique writing that occasionally had dark humor and satirical elements. The show even had a tie-in to another Sci-Fi Channel program, The Invisible Man. In the episode Touched by an Alien, there was mention of a secret government project, The Invisible Man. The two shows were both in production around the same time and shared many of the same crew. In the final episode of The Invisible Man, there was a tabloid with the headline, "Invisible Locusts Ate My Crops." It was supposed to be a copy of the Chronicle, but it was never approved by the network, so it didn't happen. Sadly, the show just didn't resonate with audiences at the time. It ran for one season with 22 episodes. The last one aired on March 22nd, 2002. The show has never been released on DVD, and it's not available for streaming. Some of the episodes are on YouTube, but the quality varies wildly. It's a shame so many of these shows are not easily accessible. All of them are highly entertaining, especially the Chronicle. Anyway, that's another 5 shows. There's tons of other Sci-Fi Channel shows that had very short lives, so if there's one you were hoping to see, you'll probably see it in the future. Speaking of which, the 25th episode of this is coming in the not-too-distant future. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, stay tuned.
Want a ride?
No, thanks. I have my own car.
I wasn't talking about the car.
Sorry, but I don't think I could rock your world like your alien buddies.
You know, in space, no one can hear you moan.